Hi everyone, welcome to the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. I want to teach you another great seed bead stitch. This is a circular brick stitch around a bead. There's lots of different ways to do brick stitch and circular brick stitch. This time I want to show you about this bead because look at this, it's kind of like a planet. It's like Saturn or perhaps it's going to be a face with a halo. It's a pretty cool little stitch and I can't wait to make a project with it. Let me show you how to do it. I'm going to use this fairly large acrylic bead because it's big enough for you to see what I'm doing, and these nice large number 8 delicas. I like using the delicas because they're so cylindrical shaped, they just line up nicely. Okay, to start with, I'm taking my needle and thread. This is Fireline, and I'm going to go through my bead, and then I'm going to go through my bead again in the same direction to make a loop around the bead, much like when we do stop beads. But this is going to be actually the bead we're going to actually use. In fact, this is where all the stitching is going to happen. It's going to happen underneath this piece of thread. And because of that, I'm going to do it twice to give it extra strength. So that's where my base of my halo is going to be, is this thread right here. And I want to go all the way around my bead, so I need to do the same thing on the other side. So around the bead once and twice for strength. And there we have a double piece of thread going around the bead all the way around. Double thread, double thread. And this is where we're going to do the stitching. So to start a brick, a brick stitch, every variation I've come across always starts with 2 beads. So I'm going to pick up 2 beads, and I'm going to go under both of my threads, pull that through. And with brick stitch, we want the beads to be side by side. So I'm going to convince them that they should be side by side. Actually, I'm going to do that by going back through that second bead right there. I'll pull that tight, and that should encourage them to be side by side. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? They're little friends. Side by side. And now we just pick up 1 bead at a time and continue this brick stitch. So 1 bead underneath the threads, pull that through, and then go back through that same bead again and encourage them all to lay side by side. Ta-da! It's a pretty easy stitch, but it's so versatile and useful, so keep this stitch in mind. 1 bead under the threads, back through the same bead, pull it nice and tight. Notice we're getting sort of like a straight thing across the top of a curved bead. You need to encourage it to curve a little bit. There we go. 1 bead under the thread, back up through there. And that's how it goes. I've got another bead that I've already done some more stitching on. I want to show you what to do when you get to that scary halfway point. Here's one I've already done a few more stitches on. Same bead, same technique, but you notice now we've come here to this hole. And it seems like a long gap to fill across that hole, but I want to show you how that works. It's not a problem at all. So I'm picking up 1 bead, and I'm going to go under this thread here on this side of the hole in any convenient fashion. Wow, I made this one nice and tight. Come on, go under the thread. I promised the people we would. Yeah, we told all the people. Good heavens. There we go. I got one of them anyway. Why won't you go under there? There we go, will do. Go through there and up. So now we're kind of at a space where there's like no thread because there's a big old hole there. That's all right. We'll just go to the thread on the other side. Don't worry about it. That's my tail. I'm just going to hide that. Pick up another thread, and this time I'm just going to leap over the hole and back through the bead, pull it tight, and there, we've bridged the gap where the hole was. No worries. So don't get all freaked out when you come to that hole. And looky, I've got yet another bead that I've gone even a little bit further, so I can show you how to get onto the second row. So here we go. I'm going to keep going on this bead. Imagine that I actually did that all the way around in front of you, but I don't think you want to watch me do all of this. After all, it's all the same thing over and over. One bead, under the thread, through the hole. One bead, under the thread, and back through the hole. Come on. One bead. See, we're at that whole place again. Back through the thread, under the thread, and back up through the bead. And now all we got to do is make it friends with this guy here. I'm going to go through the bead and under the thread, all in one fell swoop. And then back up through the bead, and that ties it all together. That's our first row. But some people are going to want to know, how do I add a second row so I can get something like this? It's just starting over again. This is a new row. We would add 2 beads, go under the thread, just like before, and back up through the second bead. And now it's just 1 bead at a time, just like before. Now, because there's a slightly larger circumference here, at some point you'll probably have to add an extra bead, and that's all right. Just keep going 1 bead at a time. Put it under whatever thread is the most convenient. So, in some places where you're going to add an extra bead, you will actually have to go under the same thread more than once, and that's fine. Just keep going. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So this is the thread I just went under. I'm going to go under that one again to add an extra bead here. Went under the same thread again and back up through this seed bead. There we go. And we're set up for the next bead. And that's all there is to it. Isn't that fun? I can't wait to use that on a project. Ooh, I hope you want to use it on a project too. Thank you very much for joining me at the Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. Hope you love this technique. Happy beading!